This president repeatedly, overtly directs the Department of Justice to prosecute his perceived political enemies at the same time that the Department of Justice is not investigating possible corruption.
A federal judge that was appointed by Ronald Reagan in his second term just resigned. And he wrote an essay because as a federal judge, you can't be openly critical of the president. It's not the way things work up to this point. I believe they should be. I think they should be far more vocal. Maybe that would throw a wrench into things that is beyond my comprehension. I don't think so, but maybe. But they're not doing that. And this particular guy, Mark Wolf, appointed in 1985, by the way, to the federal bench by Ronald Reagan, not a radical left lunatic like the Republicans are certainly going to try to paint him. He wrote an essay explaining his reasons for leaving the federal bench, for retiring. Now it's time to retire. He's been there long enough. It's fine. I'm not like, oh, he lost his job. I don't care about that. But what I do care about are the reasons that he gave for leaving. He is maybe the most stark message yet from someone of this particular level of power and influence and position. And it's remarkable. I have two paragraphs from his essay in The Atlantic, maybe three. And then I've got a segment of an interview he gave to PBS NewsHour where he really laid bare here. And if anything, this should be instructive to you about just how dangerous shit is when sober-minded judges like this individual, serious individual who take the calling of public service so serious that he will quit in order to criticize the president of the United States because he doesn't feel it's proper. He has so much respect for the judiciary. He has so much respect for the Constitution that he waited to quit to criticize. This is the title in Atlantic. Why I Am Resigning, a federal judge explains his reasoning for leaving the bench by Mark L. Wolf. In 1985, President Ronald Reagan appointed me as a federal judge. I was 38 years old. At the time, I looked forward to serving for the rest of my life. However, I resigned Friday, relinquishing that lifetime appointment and giving up the opportunity for public service that I have loved. My reason is simple. I no longer can bear to be restrained by what judges can say publicly or do outside the courtroom. President Donald Trump is using the law for partisan purposes, targeting his adversaries while sparing his friends and donors from investigation, prosecution, and possible punishment. This is contrary to everything that I have stood for in my more than 50 years in the Department of Justice and on the bench. The White House's assault on the rule of law is so deeply disturbing to me that I feel compelled to speak out. Silence, for me, is now intolerable. This is what we need from leaders. This guy is a conservative. This guy is Ronald Reagan appointed. This isn't some Obama appointee, some Clinton appointee, some Biden appointee. This is a conservative, Republican-appointed judge that still rules and thinks about his job as a conservative. And even he says, enough is enough. He's sounding the alarm bell here. Others who have held positions of authority, including former federal judges and ambassadors, have been opposing this government's efforts to undermine the principled, impartial administration of justice and distort the free and fair functioning of American democracy. They have urged me to work with them. As much as I have treasured being a judge, I can now think of nothing more important than joining them and doing everything in my power to combat today's existential threat to democracy and the rule of law. He is calling what is taking place in America right now. And by the way, this should be a message to every Democrat senator. Do not vote for Donald Trump's nominees. Do not vote for Donald Trump's agenda. Do not vote to reopen the government, allowing Donald Trump to destroy it even more. Do not. A federal judge, a Reagan appointee, is saying this is an existential threat to the nation. And if you are a United States Senator, I would expect that I don't have to go to dictionary.com for you to understand or learn what an existential threat is. He ends with, he doesn't end. This is, I will link below. If there's a gift link needed, I'll put that. If they offer that, I'll put that in the description below. You should read every single word of this. But I'm going to end it, what I'm reading, with this particular statement by him. What Nixon did episodically and covertly, knowing it was illegal or improper, Trump does now routinely and overtly. How's that wrong? Anyway, he was on PBS NewsHour. They interviewed, and I would also, I'll link below to this, because this is like a 9.5 minute, 10-minute interview, and I'm only going to give you 3.5 minutes or so. This is important to listen to. This is an alarm bell about the state of our nation. Watch this.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you and with some of the American people.
I should say you have spent 50 years with the Department of Justice and on the bench. You have seen a lot of presidents come and go. What is so worrying about this moment and this president that made you want to speak out?
Well, I think this president is unique and uniquely dangerous. When a new president is elected, he or she is entitled to set priorities for the Department of Justice. But we have an ideal that's crucial to me and many others of equal justice under law. And this president repeatedly, overtly directs the Department of Justice to prosecute his perceived political enemies at the same time that the Department of Justice is not investigating possible corruption by people close to the president and people who are doing things to profit the president and his family. So that's utterly inconsistent with, as I said, this fundamental principle of equal justice under law, to which I've dedicated my professional life for 50 years, and it's personal to me. It's deeply disturbing.
So from your time in the Department of Justice during Watergate, you've seen presidents push the limits of power. You've also seen the guardrails hold. Why are you worried that they won't hold now?
Well, I'm worried in part because I think all of the abuse that's been showered on the courts and the judges is causing people to lose confidence in the integrity and the impartiality of the judicial process. When the Supreme Court ordered Richard Nixon to turn over the tapes he made secretly in the Oval Office that had incriminating information about him and his close colleagues, he understood that he had to obey that order because the American people would not tolerate disobedience, and he would have been impeached and removed. I'm not sure, I'm not confident that that would occur today, because when judges like my colleagues rule against the president, he says that they're corrupt and they should be impeached. And the judges are not in a position to respond except by continuing to do their work with integrity and impartially. But I'm afraid that that's not a message that's getting to the American people.
From your conversations with your fellow judges, do others share these concerns? How widely held is this concern?
We don't discuss particular cases, but I would say that this concern is widely held. The judges work hard. The criticism from the president, I believe, doesn't influence the way any cases are being decided by any judge that I know. We, or now they, do their work and hope it speaks for itself. But it is disturbing to be called crooked, not because it hurts your feelings, but because when that doesn't get answered, many people might think you really are crooked. And indeed, the president's vitriolic comments have coincided with threats of harm, death threats, among others, to many federal judges. And people are genuinely concerned, judges are genuinely concerned about that.
And look, I ended it there. It goes on and on for more minutes, more important stuff. But it's not just an existential threat to the country. This guy actually recognizes that there could be physical violence brought against him. There could be attacks from the president of the United States. This is the existential crisis that he's talking about. Donald Trump is the existential threat that he's talking about, that he resigned his position as a federal judge over. Where are Republicans? Well, they're securing legislation that Donald Trump can bribe them with $500,000 payouts from the taxpayer DOJ-funded bribe kitty. What's the word? Kettle? Cauldron of bribe money? Disgusting. Republicans, wake up. Voters in the Republican Party, wake up. This is what you're fueling. This is the destruction of America as told by a Ronald Reagan, your other God, judge. Anyway, what do you think, the rational and reasonable individuals in the audience out there? You can comment below in the comments. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. Please consider supporting this work for $2 a month. You can become a channel member on YouTube. Click the join button below this video. You can also go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. Both those are great ways to help support this work and fund independent media. I would appreciate it very much. I love and appreciate you. I will see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.